Good morning and welcome to our webinar in July on your organisation vulnerable to cyber criminals. My name is Nick Kirban and I'm from the Association Executive Services. And today we have about 45 to 50 minutes discussing about some of the issues around access or cyber criminals to your organisation, and also a program that's been funded by the federal government to help your organisation and your employees to understand how you can be more effective in stopping these actions. I just wanted to say, if you wish to ask any questions, you have the little chat at the bottom, and maybe you could say just where you're from at the moment, because that's, and if you're in lockdown like I am, because I'm in Melbourne and all of us are in Melbourne, and I think we're going to be a little bit free from about midnight tonight, we hope. If not, we're back in again. So this is our 5th lockdown, and I think it's part of our culture now. But our thoughts are also with those in New South Wales, because we've been through that. So we hope you survive that very well. And these webinars have been very good for all of us to be able to connect. So a little bit about Association Executive Services before I introduce the panel. So we can go to the slide there. Okay, so we're an organisation that provides services to associations, and we've been in business for about 11 years, and a number of people here on the webinar have been our customers or our clients. Part of our purpose is to really help associations and small businesses grow and develop, and some of the webinars that we've run include education around governance, strategic planning, all those issues, and we manage conferences. We're involved in growing membership. We provide a secretariat services to a range of associations. So we're right in the middle of what associations particularly are dealing with on a daily basis. And this issue around attacks by cyber criminals is something that we are facing every day. In fact, I think I got 2 emails last week asking me to open up a particular attachment. And I think our panel will talk about that later. In fact, I got 2 phone calls last week, one from the Department of Home Services, saying that I had a warrant for my arrest. Well, I wasn't surprised, because I probably have, but it wasn't very recently. So what I'd like to do is just to move on, because I think we've got a really good packed program. We will share, first of all, with the issues around what's happening with cybercrime. And then we'll have an overview of the funded program that you can access. So what I'd like to do is introduce our panel. First of all, we have Vincent Pang. Vincent is the co-founder of IT Connection and the director in charge of software development and human resources at IT Connection. We have Basil Vella as the general manager of IT Connection for 14 years, and that's a long time, 14 years be there. So, and IT Connection and AES have been working together over a number of years, providing services to a number of our clients, and we've had a very strong relationship. We've also lucky to have Rihanna Vadani here, and Rihanna is the coordinator for the program on the training program that's been funded, and she will share with us some of her experience around the cyber criminal activity, but also at the end, we'll talk about how you can access that program. So I'm going to hand over to Vincent, and Vincent and Riani are going to take you through the first section of this webinar, dealing with some of the strategies and activities that cyber criminals are using today. Thank you.
Thanks for the warm welcome, Nick. Yeah, thanks, Nick.
Thank you, Nick.
My name is Vincent Pang. I'm one of the directors of IT Connection, and along with Yana, we'll be filling in today for Oscar, who's our cybersecurity expert, but he's unfortunately unable to present today. So the topic for this webinar is, how vulnerable is your organization to cyber criminals? And before we start the presentation, let's begin with a quick poll. Yana?
Yep. Let's begin with a quick poll. Have you received a phishing email in the last 3 months? You can actually choose yes, maybe, or nope. We actually have a robust anti-spam platform. We will wait for another minute. You can just click on it and it will I can see 86% voted. We just wait a couple of more seconds. Okay, so I'm going to end the poll and then share the result. As you can see there, most have actually received phishing emails in the last 3 months. And maybe you're not sure if they're a phishing email or not. If you go to the next slide, Vincent. Yeah, so if you receive something like this, you receive an email saying to permission, asking for your permission to accept an invitation. Would you accept the invite? I'm going to launch another poll. Would you accept the invite? Yes, maybe, or no? I'll wait for about 30 seconds. We have 80% voted. We just need to wait for a few more to vote. You just click on the yes, the maybe, or no. All right, so I'm going to end the poll now and share the result. As you can see, that's very good. Most would click no, and a couple actually clicked maybe, but no one clicked yes. So that's a good sign. So this, I'm gonna hand it over to Vincent. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Jana. So I think the key message from this poll is that phishing is a very common attack. It's actually one of the oldest forms of cyber attacks. It dates back to the 1990s. And they're becoming increasingly sophisticated with attackers able to masquerade the email as a trusted brand or a trusted identity, often a real person that you actually know or a company that you might do business with. So the world of cyber criminals is real and it's evolving. And these days, cyber criminals are not just an individual hacker, but they're sophisticated organizations operating business models called ransomware as a service. And that's RAAS. So like any business, the focus is on building a concentrated workforce with specialized skills to increase productivity and efficiency and to make money. In this case, developers are producing specialized software tools and platforms that can be sold to the dark web. So cyber criminal groups such as Ryuk, Revil, and DarkSide focused on this software development and then partner with affiliates to sell this software on the dark web. And the availability of these tools lowers the skill entry barrier, thereby increasing the number of people or affiliates that are actually entering the market. So what this means is that there's more affiliates, more people looking for victims to launch attacks. And they will maintain persistence in compromised servers once they've actually attacked or targeted you. They provide support to victims for data decryption or ransom payment. often when the victim pays, the ransom payout is split between the affiliate and the cybercriminal organization. For example, a 25 commission payment of up to, say, 500K. One of the examples of an RAS group is DarkSide, which is known for the Colonial Pipeline attack in the US. This actually stopped 45% of the oil supply to the US East Coast region over 6 days, causing a petrol price hike and panic buying in the Eastern Seaboard. So cybercrime in Australia, it's growing. The ACCC estimates Australian businesses have lost $851 million to scams. And this is a 23% increase from 2019. Whilst many scams are investment and romance related, the concerning figure for ourselves and organizations such as yourselves is that 128 million was lost via business email payment redirection. And this often starts with phishing. The statistics on this slide actually underrepresent what's actually happening in the real world, because many incidents and crimes are not reported or not deemed to be notifiable data breaches. And because of this, we can expect the actual number is probably double this. So on top of the increasing financial impact, the actual number of cyber attacks is also increasing by 10.3% per year, with most attacks stemming from malicious emails and/or compromised systems. So what does this also lead to? So cyber attacks can often result in a data breach, where data is made publicly available on the dark web. And that's often paywalled, or it can actually be given for free. On this slide, we see examples of data breaches that affected organizations, corporations, healthcare agencies, and associations. Cyber attacks are opportunistic, and they'll target any vulnerable organization, big or small. Cyber criminals are really just looking for money, and they'll get it as any means necessary. From a data leak, what do the cyber criminals do with it? So what they do is they will analyze the data for frequently used passwords. And you might think, what is the risk of this and how relevant is this to my organization? So the main risk is that passwords are reused. We as users don't like to remember so many different passwords. For example, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, your office email address. Do you use the same password for all of these accounts? So with the knowledge of commonly used passwords, it's very easy for an attacker to guess what a password could be and initiate a password spraying attack against your organization's staff email accounts. In this example, in this example, there's an attacker that's using the variation of a password June 2019 exclamation mark. So one way to keep your account safe and combat password reuse is multi-factor authentication. So MFA is an additional verification method on top of your normal username and password. So an attacker might be able to get access to username and password through a data breach, but it's very unlikely that they've got a second piece of information such as your phone number And so MFA just adds another layer using a physical device, such as a mobile phone. So let's start another poll, Yana.
Yep, sure. Do you actually implement multi-factor authentication in your organization? I'm gonna launch the poll now. Yep, policy enforced for all, and yes for some accounts, or no, you're not using MFA at all. So we're gonna wait probably about 20 seconds for everyone to start clicking on these. A few more seconds. You can just click on either one, yeah. Okay. 5 more seconds if you still want to click on them or change the answer, maybe. All right, I'm going to end the poll now and share the result. So as you can see here, some actually say yes and yes for some accounts, and a couple actually said no. Okay, I'll hand it back to Vincent. Thank you for filling out on the polls.
Thanks, Yana.
You're welcome.
So if a password has been compromised, what can this lead to? Here's an example of what we call a business email that's been compromised. And this compromise is due to credential theft via a phishing link. So this particular attacker has gained access to this email account. He has been able to get in via password reuse, and he's then looking through this person's mailbox. What they're looking for is potentially invoices. What they would like to do is maybe change some of the details of that invoice. They might pretend to be someone, and what they're trying to do is hijack the email conversation. So hijacking the email conversation is a common way to perceive legitimacy. And attackers will watch and observe how people in your organization communicate via email. Attackers with high social engineering skills will recognize nuances and apply them to the hijacked email. So here's an example where the compromised account, the attacker is then pretending to be your boss and sends an instruction for a payment. So as mentioned, once the attacker has established an email compromise, they will then try to send an invoice, which is an invoice fraud, requesting payment, or they can request a change in bank details. They could pretend to be a staff member and they want their salary to be paid to a different bank account. So the question is, do you have an internal payment verification process that's agreed with your debtors or partners regarding change of financial details? Because in most cases, if a payment's made to a cyber criminal, then these lost funds cannot be recovered. So here's the example of an email pretending to be a staff member looking to update their payment details. So let's do another poll, Yana.
Yep, sure. So this will be the last one. Hopefully people don't get bored in doing the polls and it'll be interactive enough. I'm going to launch it right now. What would be your confidence rate in your staff never failing for a phishing attack? Do you think no one in your company will fall for a phishing attack, or some will actually get phished, or you have never done assessment to understand the risk of your staff, or you actually have continuous phishing training in the company? Because it only takes one user account for a hacker to actually gain access via phishing, as explained by Vincent. And they can download malware, privilege escalated from non-private user to local admin. So we'll wait a couple of more seconds for everyone to answer. The answer is actually rolling in, which is pretty good. We have 80% to 82% voted. So I'm going to stop the poll and share the result now. Yep, as you can see here, people actually believe that some of their staff will get phished, and and an organization actually have continuous phishing training, and some have not done any assessment to understand the risk, which would be good for this training program. I'll hand it back to Vincent again. Thank you.
Thanks, Yana. So what does this mean for your organization, and how vulnerable are you? So what we do know is that there is an evolving shift in the cybercriminal world to this RAAS model. And because of this, there's going to be increased reliability and effectiveness of ransomware attacks, which means data breaches will happen more often, payment redirections have high chance of success, more and more ransom demands will be made, and attacks will happen. So this is, as mentioned to you, it is a lucrative market, and it's still growing. So what is the impact or the damage to your organization? So potentially a data breach could be a breach of client privacy. Being affected by cybercrime could affect your reputation. This is going to affect your future funding or grant applications. This is going to affect your fundraising capability. There might be a financial impact. Actually, you know, if a payment's actually made by payment redirection or by ransom, then there is a real financial impact. And lastly, you could face legal implications. So there could be a lawsuit or a cyber investigation. There might be compensation requirements. How would this affect your organization? So I think the key thing is that the threat is real and it will be persisting into the future. So organizations need to take action to strengthen their cybersecurity posture, no matter your size. So with the increasing sophistication of cybercriminals and cybercrime, how can we develop strategies to combat this and mitigate against these strategies? So this is the MITRE attack framework. It's I won't go into all the details here, but it provides the commonly used attack methods and the various dependent chains. And these are based on real-world observations. So the idea of this framework is to highlight the potential risks in your organization understand where the threats are coming from, and then determine possible methods to mitigate the threats. So the idea of this framework is to then plug any security gaps that's relevant to your organization. And from a cybersecurity defense strategy point of view, we can have a pathway to protect our systems. So now that we've looked at the MITRE attack framework, we can start to develop a possible mitigation strategy for our organization. And this slide here is just showing possible methods to protect ourselves against the threat of, say, someone like a dark side strategy. So one of the first things we can do is to enforce MFA to reduce the risk of the initial compromise. In addition to that, we want to train our staff with phishing training to make sure they can recognize incoming email threats. So in the case where an attacker may have already established a foothold, then we can defend against this by having the latest generation of antivirus or endpoint detection and response on our servers and workstations. We can also have a stateful firewall or network device to improve the security of our office network. In the case where the attacker has moved on and started to access your servers and networks, then we need to make sure we can prevent the risk of this by improving our Active Directory. We might want to make sure our servers are always patched, and we want to ensure that we've got whitelisting on our applications. So there are, I guess, without going into further detail, there are other methods and strategies to improve system security and make sure that your organization is has a adequate security strategy in place. So in closing, I hope that this presentation has given you some insight into the sophisticated strategies that cyber criminals are now using, and given you some food for thought about how vulnerable your association or organization might be to cyber criminals. And if anything, I think hopefully it's kickstarted some discussion about thinking about possible cybersecurity strategies that you can implement for your organization.
Thank you, Vincent. We've got about 10 minutes left. That's a quite scary situation, I think, where we unless we see the detail of what you've presented here, we always think it's going to happen to someone else. In fact, one of our client organisations had this about 2 weeks ago, where they had a false email sent by the president to one of the directors asking to buy some IT Tune vouchers, which he did, and it was just the last moment we managed to stop it. So that's a small organisation, and that would have been about $600 they would have just cleaned out. So that's something that you know, we face even every day. So we want to just cover now. Thank you very much for that. Give us that base. Now we probably want to look at the funded program that's available for your organisation. to help combat these things. So I'm going to turn over to Basil Bella, and Riani will talk about the operational side. So over to you, Basil. Thank you.
Thanks, Nick, and thanks everyone for their, thanks Vincent and Rihanna, and thanks everyone for the polls. I think it shows why a lot of people are interested in this sort of program. So the CSAT program, IT Connection has been granted full funding by the Australian government through the Business Connect and Protect program to provide cybersecurity training for small and medium business that have been looking to strengthen their cybersecurity posture, but may have been limited in methodology or budget. The government is aware that the cyber attacks are increasing in Australia and actively looking to help SMEs combat this problem by working with IT Connection to help deliver cybersecurity awareness training. The fully funded training program allows your staff to train and develop their cybersecurity awareness in a safe environment where if or when they fail, it will not pose a security risk to your company. This allows them to learn from experience, which we all know is much more effective for knowledge retention. Now, about the CSAT program, the training program is delivered online and of low time commitment. So anyone can do the training, whether in the office or working from home. The short training is 5 to 10 minutes. Makes it easy to remember and digest knowledge within staff's busy workflow. Yeah, it's easy to explain to someone about how to spot phishing email, but it'll take a long time and practical training to ingrain the behavior, to build the mind muscle memory in staff workflow. So when they do get phishing attack, the reaction is as natural as breathing. This email looks fishy, let's stop and analyze it. We also provide weekly updates and monthly interactive reports with consultation on the training results, as we want the best training uptake for all staff, including C-level executives, as their account usually holds the most authority and has the highest impact if compromised. So this is a brief overview of the training schedule, which runs a duration of 8 weeks. From start to finish. At the wrap-up stage of the program, we will have a webinar for participants to discuss the anonymised training trends and any other mitigation strategies around your cybersecurity posture. About us, IT Connection is an MSP with expertise in infrastructure, cloud, cybersecurity and software development, with strong client base in not-for-profit government agencies, peak body associations, and we have a growing client base in professional services and the research education sector, healthcare and financial sectors. Partnerships, we partner with many vendors and work closely with their products to attain training certificates to ensure our engineers have intimate knowledge and skills in all solutions and services that we offer our clients. So let's move on to how we register. So over to Rihanna to run us through that. Thanks, Rihanna.
Thank you, Basil. So basically, we have it in the chat where you can register. There's the link. A little bit about the program. The training program will run for 8 weeks and it will be delivered via email, as mentioned by Basil, and for all staff, not just the staff, but all the key stakeholders, C-levels, and with the form of 2 components. One is the mandatory weekly training email, ideally sent out every Monday morning at 9 o'clock in the morning. And a phishing email attacks, that's 2 emails per week sent out at random times, random day. All these training emails are low time commitment, approximately 5 to 10 minutes. There will be a short videos for the training, mini quiz at the end that you have to pass and be marked completed. We actually believe short and concise videos are proven to be more accessible. This can be done whether people are working from the office or working from home, as long as they have internet access. This can also be done on laptops, PC, or mobile phones. We just want to make sure that everyone is trained and aware of these kinds of attacks. And if they do fail, it will be in a safe environment. The training program itself, it starts on the first week of the month. For next month, this is actually already fully booked. For the slots are fully booked, but we can put you on a later batch if you do decide to register for the program. This training program ends in December, so we strongly suggest that you enroll ASAP. We are also happy to provide this training for your sister companies or for your affiliates, as this is fully funded by the government. Again, because this free training ends in December, please reserve your spot as soon as possible. Again, the registration link is in the chat box. You can click on it or copy paste it to your browser and then register there. And we will also follow up with an email that includes the recording, the presentation, and also the registration link. Everything will be available in the follow-up email, so you can register through there as well. I will hand it back to Nick. Thank you, everyone.
Wow. Thank you, Rihanna. One thing I think it would be that I've mentioned before is for those who have got associations and their members are companies or organizations or sole traders, I think this is a really good opportunity to pass this on to your membership as a value. So I think if you contact IT Connection and talk to them about how you could probably set up a little webinar for your members, particularly if you've got those organizations, I think that could be something that you could explore. And I'd just like to say thank you very much to the panel for giving their time. I think this is really a good opportunity to share this across all small businesses because we're all suffering a lot of issues around not only lockdown, but being hit by a cyber criminal just doesn't help at all. I just like to thank you very much for everyone, all your comments. If you've got any questions, just send an email to us. I know we're running out of time. AS provides a number of webinars and seminars and information like this. If you want to be on our database to get updates on this, just go to our website and sign up for our newsletter. Thank you for all my LinkedIn friends and connections and thank you again for the panel from Basil, Riani, Vincent, and everyone at IT Connection. And thank you for coming. All the best. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.